hanging out with Drew, the SVP of Digital Marketing.
We should make him tell us what that is.
Give us the long form version of that.
Yeah, well, when I was 6,
says,
the internet came through, and just kidding. Yeah, no, basically I look over and kind of lead the strategy for our paid search, SEO, and social, specifically paid social channels at Stream. So I read a lot about search, basically live on LinkedIn, just keeping up with industry experts across automotive, but also outside of automotive.
Yep.
A big piece for me, I think so many people and marketers in general can learn from just going to other marketers, other advertisers, thought leaders in other industries, and then kind of take that and tailor for automotive.
Who are you paying attention to right now outside of automotive?
Yeah.
Who's like the authority?
Eli Schwartz is somebody that I absolutely love. He's an SEO expert. He wrote a book called Product-Led SEO. And my background is really SEO. I got into everything else and now touch everything. But
so he's the expert on SEO that wrote a book about SEO. So if you search book about SEO,
that's right. It might be the one.
The first
Yeah.
SEO it's a complex thing, and not just that, but in the last year alone, really Q4 of last year, Google has just changed the rules over and over. What are you looking at right now? Like, how are you measuring success or giving dealers the opportunity to make sure they stay successful when it comes to organic search?
Yeah, I mean, they changed so much last year, and it's only getting more different as time goes on. Search generative experience is really all I'm paying attention to right now.
You said search generative experience.
So it's generative AI, and Google basically released it as a beta to counteract ChatGPT becoming famous and becoming well used. So Google is afraid they're going to lose searchers and users.
Because people are just going to go to GPT and say, hey, tell me how to do this. Answer this
Which means they're really losing to Bing, right?
And they're losing the data too. Like, that's where Google makes so much money is that data. So they released this SGE, Search Generative Experience, I guess as a beta earlier in Q1. And they're changing so much. And what it's going to become when it's fully released, there's no timeline yet. But what it'll become is people won't go to websites anymore.
Right.
And that's dramatic. They'll go to websites, but Eli Schwartz is talking about 30 to 50% of a traffic drop when this is released.
God.
And like transactional aspects, people are still going to buy a car from a car dealership.
Explain how that works. Explain how that works.
So let's say if you search, how often should I get my oil changed?
So I open Google.
Right. Yeah. Let's start at the beginning. The internet again.
Look, I'm generally the lowest common denominator around here.
Sure.
So I'm going to ask.
I don't believe
questions.
That. Yeah. Open Google.
Yes.
Go into the search bar
and
on a computer. I'm just
teasing. Okay.
Carrier pigeon. And you type in how often should I get my oil changed, right? And what's going to show up is this section where you can either click a generate button, which is like an opt-in module, or it has a collapsed module that you can open up. And it will basically take all of the information from the entire web instantaneously, and Google will provide the most accurate answer for that search.
Based on real-time available information.
Yeah, so it won't just say, streamcompanies.com recommends you get an oil change every 6 months. It'll say, experts recommend you get an oil change every 6 months, and this site recommends this, and this site recommends this. So it's kind of like, for a user, it's fantastic because they're getting
But how is that going to impact paid search?
It's a great question that we don't know yet. So in some instances, paid search is showing up above the generative experience. Some instances, it's below. And if you can imagine, like this much information is showing up on the Google SERP, it's pushing everything down.
Yeah.
So people don't need to go through and click through to a website. They're just sitting there, getting their information, and then they'll leave. One interesting piece that we've been following and I've been kind of thinking about is using the SGE and organic listings as a brand experience.
Right.
Because you might not click through to the website, but if my dealership shows up in the generative results, now when
you're the authority.
Exactly. Yeah. And when a dealer is like, okay, Ford dealer near me, this one dealership is showing up and they have a 4.7 Google rating and they have 2,000 reviews, I'm not going to click through to their site.
So within 4 seconds, they just gain credibility.
100%.
And like, even when you're saying like in the generative side, if it's experts say, I think people generally accept that if
Google said it,
and they say, hey, we checked it with all the experts and they said,
we know them all personally.
Like, I don't know more than they do, which 100%. Is why I'm searching this in the first place.
So in automotive, like our website tech is typically not set up to be ready for the Google to really understand what's happening on that website current day, and even just the crawlers, because of the speed of the site or because of the data structure of the site, aren't typically set up. How are you preparing dealers to make sure that they can be ready for that type of level of information that needs to be available?
Part of it is education, and that's a huge piece because so many dealers don't necessarily know that this is going on. So we have to ready dealers to say, like, look, 30% of your organic traffic may be gone. And it's never coming back potentially, which is crazy. And I feel like Chicken Little, like the sky is falling talking about this. But when we talk about what's on the website, yesterday on the plane, I was doing some research and looking into different searches. And the one search was Honda Civic lease deals. That's it. And the results that were showing, there were 3 local dealerships to me showing in the result. One local dealership that is the closest one to me wasn't. I was like, well, that's weird. Why is Burns Honda not showing up? This is really, really interesting. And so I went to the site, and their lease deals page, the offer was a graphic. It wasn't hard coded in. So then Google is not able to crawl and able to pull out and say, here is the lease deal that the user wants. And Google doesn't want to know that you do lease deals. When you search something like Honda Civic lease deals, they want to know what the lease deal is for that Honda Civic. And so the dealership that was showing in the generative search experience, it was specifically a $290 per month lease deal, 36 months, $2,000 down. And that was the only thing on the page.
That's unbelievable.
That it was linking to. That's it. And when we think about, so it's so interesting.
Structured data, the H1 was
exactly.
right, the body text was
That's
right. That's
all it was. And that's like, for a user, it makes so much sense because for the longest time, most people think SEO is gaming the system. Like you're trying to trick Google into ranking your site.
Right,
it was
in the beginning. That's all it was.
That's all you did. You keyword stuffed and you just structured these things to make sure you could show up.
White background.
That was a thing. Come on, that.
Yeah. And
so easy back then.
Yeah, really. Yeah, man, to go back. But now, like and I think good SEOs for a long time haven't been doing that because there's been so many Google algorithm updates that they've gotten better and better and better using, algorithmic learning and machine learning, all that stuff. But now truly SEO is building for the user. And so for a long time, it's like, all right, let's just do a bunch of content, and whether it's helpful or not, it's like, let's build it just to get people to the site. It's like, why? And so now we're thinking about like, all right, what content are we building? How are we crafting this user experience on the site to get like truly provide value to the users? And when we get them to the site, how are we making the process really simple for them to go from landing page to conversion?
Funny thing it works that way.
My guess is that the conversation we're having right now in this booth, hanging out in this podcast, if I had to guess, that this exact conversation is not happening anywhere else on this floor. It's all about paid media. It's all about AI.
You're actually right.
I guarantee it. And I know the players.
Staggering as that seems,
I bet you that conversation is not happening. So I really appreciate Drew bringing that. And I hope the audience is listening because it is something we need to prepare for.
It's coming. We don't know when yet. And Google's keeping it in their back pocket. But eventually,
it's going to drop hard.
It's going to drop hard. And if you're not prepared, I mean, it's scary.
There we go.
It's scary.
We'll get prepared. Drew, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Yeah.